Guys, welcome back. So today we're going to focus on pan frying, and we're going to do that with the chicken breast and breading. Okay, so let's start with the equipment that we're going to be using today. We're going to need our cutting board, our chef knife, measuring cups and measuring spoons, tongs, a whisk or fork, definitely a skillet to fry those chicken breasts up, and if you have a mallet or even a rolling pin to thin out our chicken breast. And let's not forget for our breading station, today we're going to need 3 shallow, short bowls or pie pans. Make actually a really good fit for this. So if you have those, gather all that stuff up and then we'll go over ingredients. Okay, so for today's ingredients, we need 2 large chicken breasts. We're going to need an oil to fry in, and I have vegetable oil on hand, so that's what I'll be using today. Canola is also an option. All right, and for the breading, we're going to need 2 eggs, 1/4 cup of milk. We're going to measure a cup of panko breadcrumbs, also a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and then salt and black or white pepper, whichever one you have. Okay, so let's get started by preheating that skillet. All right, let's go to medium heat, and then we're going to put about a little under 1 inch of oil to get started. Okay, so I've taken one of my bowls and I've cracked the 2 eggs, and I'm going to add the 1/4 cup of milk to that, and then I'm just going to kind of whisk it with a fork. Just break up the yolks. Just little whisking motion to incorporate the egg and the milk. So again, a cup of the panko, and then I have a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and I'm just going to add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper to that. Okay, then if you have another fork handy, just kind of give that a little mix. And that we're going to set aside for our breading station. But right now, let's go to the chicken and get that ready. What we're going to start by doing first is we're going to take our knife in our hand, palm down, fingers flying, all right? And we're just going to begin cutting through that lengthwise. And just get it as equal as you can. Okay, and now we have 2 separate breasts. The great thing is these are thinner now and they will cook faster. All right, I'm not quite done yet. If you have the plastic wrap, and it's okay if you don't, grab the other piece and lay it over the chicken. All right, remember when I mentioned the meat mallet or the rolling pin? This is a meat mallet, if you're not familiar. There's a smooth side and then there's a pokey side, and this can be used to tenderize meat, especially like tough parts of beef. We're gonna use the flat side, and if you don't have one of these and you have a rolling pin, this is just as good. So really the idea is when you have those chicken breasts and it's thicker on this part and thinner down here, we just wanna try to find some balance, because even cuts, even thickness, even cooking, all right? So grab your mallet and get to work. So yeah, just look for the fatter parts. Tap them out, okay? Make sure you do the same thing to the other breast, cut it through lengthwise, and then take the 2 pieces and thin them out as well. Okay, so I brought you in a little closer to show you the chicken breast. Nothing crazy, we're not going for paper thin, all right? So I've got these done and ready. Now, to begin the process, I have set up the flour, the egg, and then the breadcrumb. 1, 2, and 3, okay? Once I have 2 of these breaded, I'm gonna go ahead and move them into the hot fat and begin to cook those. I don't wanna pre-batter these other chicken breasts just yet, because the batter will tend to just fall apart. So, we're gonna work in small batches, okay? And being super mindful of washing our hands after we've touched anything raw, all right? Okay, so you can use your bare hand or you can use the tongs. I'm gonna go ahead and just use my hand. All right, so into the flour, gently coating both sides, into the egg mixture, both sides. Drain a little bit of that off and then into the breadcrumb. Okay, and if you find a gap in your breadcrumbs, just kind of give it a little shake to level that out. All right, flip it over one more time if you want to. So super carefully, I'm gonna move this to the pan. And what I want you to keep in mind is when I place it in the pan, I'm going to lay it away from me so that if there's any splatter, it goes the other way. All right, so I've got some nice bubbling around the edges. The oil is nice and hot. A couple ways you could test that before laying the chicken in. To drop a breadcrumb and see if it bubbles. Also, you can kind of gauge with your hand above the amount of heat that's being put out. So we're going for a nice golden, and we're getting there awfully quickly, but not too quickly. I'm not in fear that it will over brown. You'll see the edges of the chicken begin to turn white. That means it's cooking through. I personally like being able to let the underside brown and keep an eye on the uncooked portion of the chicken because it really helps me gauge how much closer the chicken's getting. So I'm gonna wait until the last absolute minute to turn it over because at that point, then I'm just relying on the feeling of doneness when I poke it with the tongs because I can't see the flesh of the chicken anymore. So obviously this is different from sauteing because sauteing would be faster, higher heat and a smaller amount of fat. These are typically bigger pieces, so we have more fat and a slightly lower temperature. All right, I have a beautiful golden and I don't want to tempt it. So I'm gonna go ahead and very carefully turn the chicken, and again, laying it away from me so that any splash goes away from my body. So I'm gonna go for about 3 more minutes on this side, and I'll check the browning occasionally. So if yours is thicker and begins to brown too quickly, have no fear. You can absolutely take any of this breaded food that you do and you can finish it in the oven to get to the proper temperature. So the proper temperature for the chicken breast is 165. So after about that 3-minute mark, I'm gonna go ahead and temp it with my thermometer. That is super hot. And so these are the moments I need you guys to really focus on what you're doing, being mindful, using a steady hand when you go to check this. Okay, I want to check the doneness. So I'm going to use my thermometer and I'm going to find the thickest part. And again, I'm looking for 165. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna very carefully take the chicken and move it to a platter. And then I'm going to repeat with the other pieces. All right, so I'm just gonna repeat the process, laying the chicken away from me. Just wanna move a little faster with this. You can absolutely get that brown color that you're desiring on both sides and then move all the chicken to a platter and finish it in the oven. All right, so just work your way through the rest of the chicken, making sure to get a nice golden crust and a 165-degree internal temperature. And it's time to eat. Good job today, guys. Thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate the time that you spent with me, and I hope that you found something useful here. All right, if you have any questions, as always, please do not hesitate to comment or send me a message, okay? Take care.